Killer Frost is the name of several fictional characters in the DC Comics universe. They are supervillains that appear mainly as foes of the superhero Firestorm. Fictional character biographies. Crystal Frost. Crystal Frost was the first incarnation of Killer Frost. She appeared in Firestorm number 3. While Crystal was studying to be a scientist in Hudson University, she fell in love with her teacher Martin Stein. While working on a project in the Arctic, Frost was upset to learn that Stein did not reciprocate her feelings. Frost accidentally locked herself in a thermofrost chamber but somehow survived. She was transformed in a way in which she was able to absorb heat from a living being and project cold and ice. Calling herself Killer Frost, she began her murderous crusade against men and clashed with Firestorm on many occasions. Frost eventually died after she absorbed too much energy from Firestorm. Crystal has been identified as one of the deceased entombed below the Hall of Justice. Her body was reanimated as a Black Lantern. Louise Lincoln. Dr. Louise Lincoln is the second incarnation of Killer Frost. She first appeared in Firestorm number 21. Number 12 erroneously lists this character's first appearance as taking place in Firestorm Volume 2 number 20, and used the name Killer Frost in issue number 34. Lincoln was a colleague and friend to Crystal Frost. After her friend died, she decided to repeat the experiment as a last respect to her former mentor, and became the new Killer Frost. She became just as ruthless as her predecessor and began her own personal vendetta against Firestorm, whom she blamed for Frost's death. She briefly served as a member of the Suicide Squad and sold her soul to Neron for more power. During the Underworld Unleashed event, Frost attacked Hawaii, freezing part of the islands before being stopped by Superboy and Knockout. After a group of mobsters put out a hit on Lois Lane, Frost rescued her from Solomon Grundy, only to then leave the reporter bound and gagged on a set of train tracks, hoping to take the credit and reward for Lane's death. Her plan was foiled by Superman, who promptly rescued Lois before the train could hit her. Killer Frost was later freed by Effigy and the two had a brief flirtatious partnership before she was apprehended by Green Lantern. Killer Frost was one of many supervillains seeking to earn a $1 billion reward offered by President Lex Luthor to sanction Superman and Batman, whom he considered treasonous. This takes place in the Superman-Batman Public Enemies arc. She teams with Mr. Freeze, Icicle, and Captain Cold in an attempt to ambush the two heroes in Washington, D.C., but all four were defeated. They attack in a second wave, along with more villains such as Giganta and Gorilla Grodd, but a similar backup of superheroes batter them all into submission. It was later discovered that this ice-themed team of villains was being mind-controlled by Grodd in Superman Batman number 3. Dr. Light hires Frost and Mirror Master to attack Green Arrow and Black Lightning at a hospital in Chicago, Illinois where Kimiyoshi is being held. Green Arrow stops Frost by firing an arrow filled with Greek fire into her thigh. Unable to absorb the heat from the arrow, she is soundly defeated by Green Arrow number 54-55. Around this time, Lincoln discovered that she had contracted cancer, and tricked Jason Rush, the new Firestorm, into curing her by posing as a normal young woman. With her health and powers restored, Frost went on a rampage, only to be defeated when Jason used his abilities to reverse his alterations to Lincoln's body, thus returning her to her sickly state. Killer Frost returned during the events of 1 year later, where she had apparently entered into a relationship with Mr. Freeze. Together, the two villains went on a killing spree in Manhattan, New York, hoping to draw Firestorm into an elaborate trap. Once the hero arrived, Killer Frost used a device to send both of them into space, where she sought to absorb the heat energy of the sun. Firestorm narrowly managed to stop her plan, and both Frost and Freeze were taken into custody by Batman. As they were being sent away, Frost angrily revealed to Freeze that she had only been using him as a pawn, and had no romantic interest in him. Frost was later seen in the Justice League of America wedding special, battling Firestorm, until Lex Luthor, Joker, and Cheetah arrived, subdued Firestorm, and invited her to join the new Injustice League. She then appeared in Salvation Run, where she was sent to the prison planet after having been defeated and captured by the Suicide Squad. In DC Universe number 0 she was seen as the member of Libra's secret society of supervillains. She is later seen as one of the villains sent to retrieve the Get Out of Hell free card from the Secret Six, and ultimately help deal the killing blow to the crazed supervillain Junior and the troubled vigilante known as the Tarantula. A short time after this encounter with the Secret Six, Killer Frost appeared as one of the participants in a meta-human fighting tournament in Tokyo. She was defeated by Wonder Woman and Black Canary, who had disguised themselves as villains in order to take down the tournament from the inside. Lauren Fontier, in the New 52, the history of Firestorm is rebooted so that Jason Rush and Ronnie Raymond are two high school classmates who gain their powers at the same time. A terrorist cell attacks the kids' school and female terrorist Lauren Fontier goes after Ronnie and Jason in hopes of killing them and taking the Firestorm Matrix. Just as she is about to pull the trigger, Jason opens the Matrix, transforming both himself and Ronnie into Firestorm and badly injuring Lauren. When one of the other gunmen attempts to dig Lauren out of the rubble, he is horrified to discover that her skin has turned blue and is now apparently inhumanly cold, causing her to strongly resemble both of the previous Killer Frosts. Caitlin Snow, in September 2013 as part of the Villains Month part of the Forever Evil storyline during the New 52, Killer Frost was featured in the one-shot Justice League of America 7.2, also titled Killer Frost No. 1. She can also be seen on the cover of Forever Evil No. 1 which hints at her involvement in that series. The issue revealed this is yet another version, however. Dr. Caitlin Snow is a scientist sent to STAR Labs Outpost No. 72 in the Arctic to work on a thermodynamic engine whose creator had committed suicide, and she soon discovered the place had been infiltrated by HIV agents. When they tried to kill her inside the engine, Caitlin frantically ripped off the coolant system merging her body with ice. Transformed into a heat vampire, she killed the HIV agents and continued to search for other sources of heat, eventually discovering Firestorm blasts can temporarily heal her condition. When he was declared dead by the crime syndicate, she loses hope for a cure. Killer Frost mourns the disappearance of Firestorm. She is distracted though by a woman's cries for help as her son is trapped in a flaming car. Though she is tempted to steal the woman's heat, the talk of fire intrigues Killer Frost. Investigating, she discovers that a supervillain calling herself Hotness is causing fires everywhere. Gleefully, Killer Frost catches her and steals her heat, killing her. Despite having done nothing else to help, the boy is reunited with his mother and Killer Frost returns to search for Firestorm knowing that she had not had enough heat. The Morai teleport Trevor to Dr. Martin Stein's cabin where Killer Frost has already arrived. Both reveal they need Dr. Stein's help to find and help Firestorm, as Stein created the protocols that make the Firestorm fusion possible. Stein reveals that the Matrix, if not found, will get overloaded and explode, causing a second Big Bang. Secret Society members try to get in contact with Killer Frost, and use their communication coins to find her location at Dr. Stein's cabin. Dr. Stein takes Trevor and Killer Frost to his secret, off-the-grid, basement, where he uses his teleportation devices to transport them to ARGUS Detroit station known as the Circus. Killer Frost, who is weakening due to Firestorm's disappearance, helps Trevor locate the cheetah. They are attacked by Weasel who Killer Frost ends up freezing. Before resuming the search for Cheetah, Killer Frost apologizes to Weasel. When they find her, they are attacked by her menagerie and are captured. Killer Frost faces off against Dr. Light. Angrily, Dr. Light warns that if she stands beside Steve Trevor, she stands against him. This is problematic enough as Caitlin is weak from going without feeding on the warmth of others for so long and Light's energy is beyond her capacity to process. Dr. Light hurls her into Steve's ice block, freeing him. Grumpily, she reminds that she's saved him 4 times now, and he might as well owe her a job at ARGUS. He comments that he'll put in a good word if they survive. Hiding behind a thick tree, Steve promises that he can help Dr. Light, but receives an unfriendly response. While Killer Frost holds Light back, Steve crawls over to an unconscious Cheetah and checks to see if she has any useful weapons. As Dr. Light attacks Killer Frost, Steve sneaks up behind him and wraps the lasso of truth around him. Grabbing the lasso after Dr. Light exploded upon being told the truth, Steve inadvertently explains to Caitlin how the Moirai showed him memories from his past and she wonders if any of them were useful. He recalls how in Kondak, he had approached Wonder Woman while wrapped in the lasso and demanded to know whether she loved him. She had responded that while she had loved him, she had moved on. Feeling hurt, Steve responds that the memory was not particularly useful. Suddenly, Martian Manhunter enters Steve's mind and reports that he has freed himself of the Syndicate's psychic prison. Regrouping, Steve and Caitlin rush to his aid despite being one of the last remaining lines of defense where all else have failed. Powers and abilities. Both versions have shown the ability to absorb heat from external sources and transmute it into waves of cold. Using these powers, Killer Frost can create an ice sheen across her entire body. She can then generate objects composed completely of ice, such as projectiles and defensive walls. She can also instantly freeze animate matter through physical contact. In pre-Crisis on Infinite Earths appearances, she had the ability to make men fall under her control with a kiss. Other versions, DC Super Friends, based in the DC Super Friends universe, Killer Frost is part of a group of ice-themed villains called the Ice Pack that encased a city in ice and snow. The Ice Pack appear in DC Super Friends number 16. In other media, television, Killer Frost appears in the animated series Justice League, voiced by Jennifer Hale, albeit uncredited for the role. Although it was never stated which version she is, she's motivated by a base desire to kill people and does not seem to care who she serves so long as she is afforded the opportunity to do so. She joins Gorilla Grodd's secret society, relishing the chance to freeze Morgan Edge when the rest of the team is distracted examining the canisters containing the secret society's latest recruit Clayface. They were eventually defeated by the Justice League. Killer Frost also appears in the sequel series Justice League Unlimited, again voiced by Jennifer Hale. She rejoined Gorilla Grodd's secret society. She was sent with Devil Ray, Heatwave and Giganta to a mountain to steal a Viking ship frozen in a glacier. The ship held the remains of a Viking prince that were believed to hold the key to invincibility. When an avalanche threatened a nearby lodge, she was forced by the Martian Manhunter to save the people there. Later, when the secret society mutinied on the way to Brainiac's former lair, she joined Grodd's faction but was defeated by Toyman. After the mutiny was defeated, Lex Luthor demanded one good reason why any of the rebellious factions should be allowed to live, to which Killer Frost stepped forward and froze the half of the secret society that had opposed Luthor. Satisfied, Lex replied, "You've got a future," to Killer Frost. She subsequently appears as one of the Legion members who survived Darkseid's resurrection and ends up fighting alongside the Justice League in their struggle against Darkseid's forces. The Crystal Frost version of Killer Frost appears in Young Justice, voiced by Sarah Shahi. In the episode Independence Day, she appears briefly at the beginning of the episode, where she attacks Pearl Harbor and is defeated by Aquaman and Aqualad. In the episode Terrors, Killer Frost is seen as an inmate at Belle Reve. She is part of the breakout attempt alongside Captain Cold, Mr. Freeze and both Icicles. She freezes an undercover Miss Martian when she stops Killer Frost from finishing off a guard, but is stopped by Superboy. In the episode Cold-Hearted, Killer Frost and the other ice-based villains were suspected of being behind the ice fortresses that attacked the United States. Hugo Strange told Batman and Flash that neither of the ice-based villains left their cells. The Louise Lincoln version of Killer Frost appears in the Batman, the Brave and the Bold episode Darkseid Descending. Voiced by Jennifer Hale. She is portrayed as Ronnie Raymond's vengeful ex-girlfriend. She crashes his class and attempts to kill him until Batman interferes. She battles Batman and Firestorm. They manage to defeat her and she is taken into custody by STAR Labs, vowing revenge on Firestorm. Danielle Panabaker portrays the Caitlin Snow version of Killer Frost on the CW's The Flash and Arrow. She made her debut in the Arrow episode The Man Under the Hood. In this episode, she and Cisco Ramon appear in the Starling City Star Labs warehouse doing inventory, as Starling has cancelled the lease after the incident in Central City and Starling's own bad history with advanced weapons, Malcolm Merlin's earthquake device. Cisco is overwhelmed with all of the inventions and declares it the bomb. Caitlin and Cisco are then chased by Deathstroke through the warehouse. After Caitlin tells Cisco about a weapon created by Dr. Light, he uses it on Deathstroke to stun him so that they can run and get help. Help comes too late as Deathstroke finds what he was looking for and leaves. Felicity Smoke and John Diggle arrive to learn what Deathstroke took, and Felicity reunites with the two as she met them during her visits to Central City to see a comatose Barry Allen, him being moved from the hospital to Star Labs. When she brings up Barry Allen, Cisco mentions that he gets a lot of visitors and that Iris West is there a lot. Felicity later returns and asks Cisco and Caitlin to help secretly devise a cure for Marakuru, the serum that created Deathstroke and created his own personal army. Film: Killer Frost appears in Superman Batman, Public Enemies, with Jennifer Hale reprising her role albeit uncredited for the role. In this film, she teams up with fellow Cold-based villains Mr. Freeze, Captain Cold and Icicle to capture Superman due to a bounty placed on him by President Lex Luthor. After a brief fight with Batman, they are defeated by Superman. The Louise Lincoln version of Killer Frost appears in Batman, Assault on Arkham, voiced again by Jennifer Hale. She appears as a member of the Suicide Squad. During the infiltration of Arkham Asylum, Killer Frost locates Riddler. Killer Frost decides against killing him when she learns the reason she was sent to snuff him out. Riddler knows how to disable the bombs implanted in members of the Suicide Squad. Video games: in Justice League Chronicles, Eclipso noted that Killer Frost was the only one with a heart dark enough to free him from his prison. Killer Frost is featured in the video game Justice League Heroes, voiced by Nika Futterman. Killer Frost is also an outdoor raid boss in the MMORPG DC Universe Online, voiced by Christina J. Moore. The Crystal Frost version of Killer Frost will appear as a boss in the video game Young Justice Legacy, voiced by Vanessa Marshall. The Louise Lincoln version of Killer Frost appears in Injustice: Gods Among Us, voiced again by Jennifer Hale. In the alternate reality, she is a member of Superman's regime and is shown to have her hair in a mohawk style. She fights Green Arrow at Wayne Manor and Deathstroke at the Ferris Aircraft Facility. After the alternate Superman is defeated by Superman, Killer Frost is among the regime members to be rounded up by the Justice League. In Killer Frost's ending, she becomes overconfident after her defeat of Superman, and STAR Labs scientists manage to apprehend her with the intent of using her ability to fortify the polar ice caps. They underestimate her however, and she turns on them, eventually freezing the entire Western Hemisphere. The survivors of the incident currently struggle to overthrow the self-proclaimed Ice Queen. Miscellaneous: the Crystal Frost version of Killer Frost appeared along with Mr. Freeze, Captain Cold, Minister Blizzard, Cryonic Man, Icicle, Polar Lord and Snowman in Justice League Adventures. Killer Frost has appeared in the Justice League Unlimited spin-off comic book. Her appearance is in issue number 21 with her Legion teammate Heatwave. References